How surprised are you by what we saw on Sunday?
Definitely surprised that they won the way they did. I thought it would be competitive, but in the end, I thought the Bengals would pull away. So I was surprised both at the way the Patriots played and, to be quite honest, like the way the Bengals played. Like that looked like a pulseless team right there. I'd be concerned if I was out there.
Yeah, Mike was on Channel 4 game day. He picked the Bengals, and I picked the Patriots.
That's true.
16 points right
That's
after
true.
him.
Yeah.
And Ramondre Stevens to have 140 yards rushing.
You had that?
Nailed it. Yep.
Love it.
Well, he didn't have 140, but
Close.
he had that kind of day.
Yeah.
Right?
He was
had
good.
that kind of day. So you say it's surprising. Is the win surprising or how they did it surprising?
How they did it, not surprising. I felt like
Okay.
if they were going to win, that was the way they had to play. I think just the fact they went into an opposing team's stadium on opening day as the biggest underdog and won the game. I mean, look, Beto, last week we were talking about what if Jerod Mayo is a terrible coach. That was one of our topics that we had. We really had no idea how this was going to go. So I think the fact that part to me was surprising.
Yeah, and as far as him and building his program and getting buy-in from players, there could be nothing better than how this went on Sunday.
I agree. And he told, I don't know if you guys talked about this, he told the story yesterday to the reporters on the day after video conference about how they were on the sideline in the fourth quarter, and the players were saying, and it was a close game obviously, and they're on the sideline saying to him, let's go to the hill. Let's go to the hill. And that was a reference to training camp, Beetle, when it's at the end of a training camp practice, 2 hours, 2:10, 2:15, and Mayo sends them to run the hill. And it's the whole message from Mayo is we're going to do hard things. And so the players are saying that on the sideline in the fourth quarter, let's go to the hill.
That's great.
To your point, Beetle, like that it couldn't have worked out better for Mayo. Like that's how Mayo described the sideline in the fourth quarter.
Don't be surprised if next time you cover the team, you're walking around and see let's go to the hill T-shirts in the lockers.
I could see it.
That's kind of what you do. You get that mantra going. That could be their driving thing this year.
Well, I mean, when you win and you have the result that you have, you now validate everything you did all summer when you were telling those guys, get to the hill, right? And that's the buy-in part, which is we're not going to have the best roster. We're not going to have the better quarterback. We're not going to have, a more talented roster than the opponent most weeks.
Yep.
We have a really difficult schedule. We're going to face a lot of really good teams in this league. The way we're going to beat them is we'll be better prepared.
That's right.
We'll be better conditioned, if you will. We'll work harder. We will outwork everybody. We will work our way to the wins.
That's right. And that can be very endearing as a team, like I want to say 2001, as an example, just thinking off the top of my head. But, Beetle, you said something there that in this game going in, I would have said, no doubt the other team has the better quarterback.
Yep.
After the game, like that was one of the things that shocked me, was Jacoby Brissett outplayed Joe Burrow. Who was that Joe Burrow? What were those last? No, Beetle, let's fight on this because
I don't want to fight.
What were those? First of all, what were those last 3 plays from Burrow? Game on the line. Like, we love Joe Burrow. Like, he's ice. Like ice in his veins.
He looked great.
Those were the least competitive final 3 plays from a Joe Burrow. Like, I couldn't believe that. And on Brissett, like, I'll give you like that throw to Hunter Henry in the end zone. That's one that if that happened, maybe we're having a different discussion. But I just thought he played really smart. He was really tough, and he's
going to get hit because of who he is and his long release, his wide stance. Like, he's a target. He's a sitting target. I know Mayo had a crack on him too about being not the fastest guy out there. He has deceptive speed there because he picked up 3 first downs with his legs that I never thought he'd be able to do.
Yeah.
And that's why people like saying, play May, because he could do those things. And here he is, sort of putting the May conversation on the back burner.
And I heard you guys talking about Belichick on the Manning cast. Like, so much of what I think about with the game is tied to Bill Belichick over 24 years. And I heard him say yesterday, the biggest thing for a quarterback is decision-making. Like, that's the number one thing, right? He talked about it with Tom and how Tom protected the team. He didn't make the play that hurt the team. Didn't make the play that Will Levis did for the Titans on Sunday where he tries to underhand the ball, pick 6, game over.
Idiot.
I thought, to me, that's where like Brissett was outstanding in the game, decision-making wise, just based on the way the game played. Now, you got to throw for more yards going forward. But just in that game, Beetle, he was a better. That's my point.
I mean, and fine, but if he was, it wasn't by much. I mean, both guys had bad day. I mean, Jacoby did not have a bad day. Burrow had a bad day.
Bad day.
Right? And it still was close, which is just to go back to that original point.
That's right.
They're going to be facing better quarterbacks almost every week. I mean, the schedule is not kind. So that talking point of Jerod Mayo is now important, that you've just got to work harder. You've got to continue to work harder. And he wants them to, and he's got them locked in on that front, because it is a little bit of the Harry High School thing, and some teams won't respond to it, but this one is buying in on it.
That's right.
You kind of have to do that. Like Harbaugh does that out with the Chargers. I got the megaphone. I got my clipboard. I'm going to run sprints with the team. It's Harry High School, but you're trying to establish your culture, your identity.
Did you see the shirts that Harbaugh gave the team?
What was it?
So he had these, like, I would call them like the shirt you'd expect like a janitor or a mechanic to be wearing, with the kind of that sewn on.
It's called a Dickie.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Dickies.
Yeah, with the sewn on name badge.
Yeah.
And it was because he told them all that we're a blue collar team.
That's great.
So we got them all these custom shirts, but the guys responded. They loved it. They thought the shirts were cool. Like,
He should have got him a dented thermos and a metal lunchbox and like crack.
Yes.
Remember from Slapshot?
Get him an old school.
Make it look tough.
Yeah. Get him an old school thermos.
Guys, you're bringing we can order fancy lunches from downstairs, but we're serving them in lunch boxes.
That's great.
Because we're a lunch pelt team.
And I think what Jerod said after the game specifically resonates with the players, which is, I'm nothing without them, because he was a player. And I think that for 24 years, rightfully so, like, we more often than not, we praise Bill Belichick, the master class, the chess master.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think what I'm seeing is like a little bit of a, let's pull back on that a little bit and let's remind people it's a player's game. I'm a former player. Ultimately, we're going to empower the players. And for 1 week, it worked, and let's see how that looks going forward.
So there is, though, the element of this looking like a Bill Belichick team.
Totally. Special teams, the conditioning, running the ball, like defensively, winning the turnover. I mean,
special teams play, winning the turnover battle,
long
disciplined
snapper,
team.
all that.
Long snapper from Navy has the big turnover that changed the game.
Which is a great compliment to Bill. And I think the difference on this one, Beetle, and this is a story that I'm fascinated by, is just offensively, the prior 2 years, it was a mess offensively. And I think this year we'll see what it ultimately looks like, but it looks like a more cohesive, like, this is what we're going to be, and we'll see what it grows to ultimately being. But it feels like they're trying to do stuff. They're doing stuff now that Bill was trying to do in 2022 with the wide zone running, and I think they have coaches.
See the one wide zone run they had on Sunday. See Ramondre get hit for 2-yard loss on that one
he
to the right.
Got hit for quite a few losses, but I thought they hit on a couple of them, and also play action. I thought it opened up a couple in the passing game.
But I talked to them too, and they're like, "Yeah, we canned the wide zone run for that day. It wasn't there. They got away from it. Matt Patricia would just keep hammering it. He'd get away from it if it doesn't work." And Van Pelt did.
I was going to say, you have a qualified offensive coach now. He's qualified for his job.
That's right.
And whether or not he's good at it is a different question, but he's certainly someone who's held the position.
That's right.
And has been coaching offense for a long time.
That's right.
That was not the case 2 years ago.
That's right.
So I get it, like, conceptually, sure, but to say that, like, they were making a real effort 2 years ago, they did something. I don't know that it's a real effort. Right?
That's fair.
So I don't know how that part goes back to Bill.
No, I was thinking more, I would love his thoughts on what he saw watching it.
It's interesting because he refuses to speak about it. I don't know if you know this, but now through 3 media appearances, he refuses to talk Patriots.
I did notice that, Beetle. I happen to be tuning in to be curious if he was.
What's that all about?
So the part of it, to me, I was wondering, is it because it's national and the Patriots Bengals isn't as a topic that resonates on the a national show.
But it's the biggest upset of the week in the NFL. First time head coach, and it's his former team. It's the question that everybody should be asking.
Super Bowls.
It should be the first question out of anybody's mouth with access to Bill Belichick.
His son's on the staff. His son's here. You could ask him it. He told them, you can't ask me.
That would be my guess. That he took it off the table.
I would say that's a bigger national story, other than the question of what can you do at halftime in a game. Which is
Coach, do your players eat oranges and go pee at halftime?
And we'll remember it, because if the first time he's asked about the Patriots is after a loss or after the adversity that he was talking about yesterday, that would be telling.
And
right?
I thought Pat McAfee,
definitely, it would speak to an agenda.
I thought Pat McAfee was the guy who was advertised as the guy who wasn't afraid to ask anything. And when Robert Kraft is sitting at the podium at the Army-Navy game, he'll ask him without asking him about firing Bill Belichick.
You got tough decision making.
Know what you got to do at the end of the year. I thought he was like a wild man who was not afraid of mentioning anything. He wouldn't even mention the Patriots to Bill Belichick yesterday, while they pay him millions of dollars to be on the show. Wow. Guess they're not renegades over there, huh?
Nope.
Can I give you my 3 really quick?
Mike, give us your big picture things here from this game. Your thoughts.
So let's skip over the obvious one, which is good reflection on Jerod Mayo, which we already talked about.
Okay.
So number 1, then I'll go just the tackling. Like, the way they tackled in the game and played defensively was so impressive to me, because it was week 1.
Yep.
And I thought, to me, that was like, we watched training camp, and they actually tackled to the ground in training camp. And I thought Marcus Jones set the tone early with 2 third down tackles on the first 2 drives. And that play by Jonathan Jones, like, you guys tell me, like, what was a better defensive tackle that you've seen in recent memory?
He was 8 yards deep
than that play.
The block was happening because it was almost like a slot step back, little quick screen to the right, and he hit that back foot of 8 yards behind, came up and hit him 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It was unbelievable.
I thought that was one of the best plays I've seen.
And he hit him
maybe
high.
He's made in his career. Beetle, trying not to be like a prisoner of a hyperbole.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. Like, if you get that stop in that Super Bowl against the Eagles on those third downs where the Eagles receivers were catching them and turning the corner and running, every pass that was completed on Sunday, it was instant, cut the legs out, they were down on the ground.
Which for week 1, I mean, and just to compare it to the Bengals, like, I thought their tackling was poor, and like, they didn't really play their guys in the preseason, Beetle. So I just thought it was reflective of the coaching approach and mismatch.
Well, I think it's very helpful in the early going, too, for that reason you give, which is other teams may not have been as physical in their training camps as the Patriots have been. And when you come out flying like that at any point in the season, guys remember that. Right? That creeps into players' heads more so now than ever, because there's less physicality in practices, whether it be in July or it's January, right? There's just less of it now in the league. So when you come out on game day and you're ready to hit, it sticks with guys, especially a lot of these soft receivers in this league. They remember that. It creeps into their mindset in the middle of a game.
So that was number 1, the tackling. Number 2, we'll do offensive line. And I would say, I wouldn't go as far as to say the offensive line was terrific, but I thought it was right in the middle, which, based on where they were and what we thought they were going to be, was better than what I thought. And here's why I say that. They obviously ran the ball well. I thought Ramondre did make a lot of that after contact, not as much, not as much as maybe like some of the analytics sites say. Like, I think they opened holes and he hit them. I think pass protection wise, there were 3 plays where there were just runaway rushers, which is what I always start with. And they got an issue at left tackle with Okorafor getting benched on the 13th play, and Vidarian Lowe coming in and hanging in there. But like, so I think they did well, Beetle, but I wouldn't say like they led them to the win, or but it was a surprise relative to what we had seen to that point in camp. Is that fair?
It's fair.
Yeah.
It is fair. I would not say they played well. I would not go that far. I think it's maybe the most overrated performance of any of the good things that happened this weekend for this team. I still think they have major problems on their offensive line that will become more evident, and I think there were a lot of pass breakdowns in this game that didn't hurt them.
Because of Brissett?
Because of Brissett.
I agree.
Brissett's ability to stay on his feet, Brissett's ability to use his feet. I think that he bailed them out on some plays that it may not have been totally obvious. Yeah. And I think there were breakdowns in this game in pass protection especially that I think will come back to haunt them at some point and will be more evident. I also think that Ramondre Stevenson bailed that offensive line out by creating so many yards with his own 2 legs. And so when we were talking earlier about, well, that zone run's not there. Yeah, it's not there, not because of anything the Bengals were doing. It was there because the Patriots couldn't block it up. So I think that's still a real concern. But the thing that didn't happen was what we feared, which was you have an Eagles joint practice-like type of day. And they avoided that. They were not a disaster. They at least looked like they were capable of figuring their way out through a game, which is the bare minimum, and let's hope that they find ways to improve as they go forward in this season.
See, that Philly day, that single day on that Tuesday before that Thursday preseason game instilled a lot of fear in people.
Yeah.
Because the amount of rushes, 20 dropbacks, 15 pressures, 15 times that had been hit. I remember Mayo talking about that. We looked at the film. It wasn't as bad as you thought it was. Because I think they're going to look at it differently. Like, okay, this guy's going to have help on this one.
Right.
Like the one-on-ones, they got manhandled. But there's going to be times you could slide to that, and they kind of pounded that. Like, don't believe everything you see in that Eagles practice day.
Yep.
And they believed in the guys, and that's the scariest part for me going into that game. The element of the unknown on offense. We knew they'd be pretty steady on defense, but they're really good on defense. Defense won that game for him. But Brissett's decision making, he's got to do that every game.
And I think to Beadle's point, like that's why Drake May that's part of why Drake May isn't playing right now. Now,
yeah, because
you don't want to put him in those positions. Like one specific example that I remember, I'll check my notes. Quick pass to Austin Hooper. I want to say Mike Hilton, the slot corner, coming in on a blitz, and he's just direct path to Brissett.
Read it hot,
got it out.
And,
and that's what Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator, is saying when he says this guy knows the answers to get himself out of trouble.
Yeah.
I thought that was a specific example of that.
So, like protecting the football, for example, that Hunter Henry throw in the end zone was a bad throw off the back foot by him. If that's picked, you don't get a field goal there. And this is your margin for error. Because you see those touchdowns that all of a sudden become field goals, and you kick 3 field goals instead of walking away with 7. They were one play out of that game. Cincinnati, as bad as Cincinnati, bad as Burrow looked, quick strike capability right down the field, and they would have been up 14-13.
Well, for the Patriots to get that field goal that put it back to a two-possession game was massive, right?
Huge.
And those are kind of those razor-thin margins that you're talking about.
That's your margin, man.
Yeah.
That's your margin there. You get turnovers, you're not getting those points.
And on that particular play to Hunter Henry, I want to point out in the end zone that he shouldn't have thrown. I have in my notes that Vidarian Lowe was beaten on the edge by Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah,
and so that was part of his decision-making process gets rushed because of the pressure in front of him.
Yeah, he's off balance making the throw.
Yeah,
all of it.
Guys legs it.
So I'm a little higher on the offensive line than you, but I think we're saying the same thing in that we're not running to say everything's solved, it's great, they did a great job and led them to victory. Like, I think they were right in the middle. You maybe are a little lower.
I'll say this. They were at the higher end of what you could possibly expect from them
That's
going
fair.
into game 1.
That's fair.
Right?
And Beetle, I agree. And that would bring me to my third point, which is actually more than the offensive line. What would concern me after watching it over is I just don't see the pass catchers getting open consistentally. And
they do against zone. Like I saw Taekwon open a couple times, but he had to come off him because of pressure or something else. I thought two of the times he took off. But the man stuff, Pop was there a couple times too. And again, it's pressure that gets him off the read.
Okay.
But you're right, though. Like, Polk isn't going to blow doors, but he will fight for the ball. It's a strong catch he had it, 6 yards.
Yeah.
But we've seen it before in years past here where that ball gets knocked down or the guy drops it. It's a strong catch. He will catch the ball. And you're going to get Bourne back at some point. Do you estimate a time frame on Bourne?
I would think after week 4, which is when he would be eligible, start him practicing.
Yeah.
Right? But I think, and on the third point, just to balance it out, to say, they won, generally it's pretty positive. What are the areas that could concern you going forward? To me, it's
still protection.
I think it's as much the pass catchers, like to make it easier for Brissett, because I think there were some times where the protection was good, guys, and no one was open. That's just from my not that we all see it the same way. And then really going deep, I think defensive tackle. Like when the Bengals started to commit to the run inside there in the third quarter, when that game started to turn, I think they need one more big guy in there. Like when they ran at Keon White, ran a little bit at Daniel Aquali, who I thought played well, Jeremiah Farms, that group, Tristan Hill, outside of Devon Godchow. Like, Seahawks are coming in. Like, that's a power run team. Yeah. Like, I want to see how they hold up in there. That would just be something I would mention. You're
starting to feel like they could open up the season 3-0 like Zoes feels?
Not 3. Maybe 2.
He's already talking 3.
You going 3, Zoe?
That was about as they looked last night.
Best.
They got problems. No, but they got problems. They got to get on the road again. They got to go back home, fly all night. Then they got to go back to Tennessee.
This is what happens when you win a game.
I love
right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't mean just result. I say this is what happens. It's a sign of the times. You win a game, good things and positive conversations start happening. As wild as they may seem, this is where it goes, which I think speaks to how maybe desperate this team was to have something good happen.
Yeah. And it was, this
is a good week for them.
It's a good week for them, Beetle, because of the way they played, right? Like even if they lost the game, and it was a couple bounces go the other way, we could be having
Mike, even if they lost the game, let's say they lose the game. Let's say the Bengals score late, Burrow takes them on a drive, and then the Patriots can't pick up those first downs with Ramondre and whatever. Yeah. Come up with whatever scenario you want. Even if the Patriots lose that game, I don't think the conversation would be dreadful.
I agree.
It would be negative because it's always going to be negative when you lose, but it would not be as doom and gloom as when you're at the end of the season and you've won 3 games. Like, it's not that yet. I mean, there still would have been plenty to take from that game, even in a loss. The fact that they hung on and won the way that they did is just, well, now it really just changes the conversation. Are they going to open up 3-0? That's the kind of swing you can have by winning that game and hanging on the way they did.
But like the sideline operation, I was watching that a lot too. There was no panic on the sideline. I saw panic with Zach Taylor throwing his headset. Their sideline dead as a doornail. No energy with them. With their fans are in all orange, amped up, ready to go. That team lacked energy. Like they were dead tired. The Patriots had all the energy. And the organization on the sidelines, you don't have 12 men on the field. How many times have we see that the last 2 years with Bill?
You talking about when Chase was the 12 man?
Yes.
You know why he was the 12th man? He was so upset.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, about not getting targets. No, but I'm talking in years past where Patriots had 12 men on the field. We had to burn timeouts.
Gotcha.
Or got called for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, boy, Jamar Chase, he looks a little heavy too.
I felt like,
legs are thick. Remember when Ty Law left here and he went to the Jets and we saw him tying a jet uniform and his upper legs look thick. He looks like he hasn't been running. He looked tired. Like he'd go in for 2 plays and then raise the hand and come out and walk to the sideline. Barely make it to the sideline before the huddle broke.
I felt they
had an issue with him.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.